Hi, everyone. My name is Nicole Naidia, and I am the Program Director for SOTA, Student Organ Donation Advocates. I want to welcome you to our Rose Parade send-off party, where we'll be celebrating our board member Autumn's journey to the Rose Parade, learning more about her daughter's gift of life, and hearing how SOTA is saving lives through student-led advocacy. Before I share more about SOTA, I want to pause and thank you all for your support. Earlier this year, we hosted a Rose Parade fundraiser that made our sponsorship of the Rose Parade Donate Life Rose Parade float possible in memory of Riley. Because of generous supporters like you, we are able to recognize Riley in Pasadena and raise awareness for SOTA in our mission, so thank you. Now on to a cause that means so much to all of us, organ donation. Right now, there are nearly 106,000 Americans currently waiting for a life-saving transplant. And we all know 106,000 people is a lot of people, but what does that really look like? The Rose Bowl Stadium, where the Rose Bowl will be held in January, holds about 92,000 people. So if everybody who needed a transplant traveled to Pasadena and watched the game, they would not all be able to fit in the stadium. That's how many people 106,000 people are. And there are, unfortunately, is more people that need a life-saving transplant than there are organs available. So about 22 people die each day waiting for a life-saving transplant. However, if we can register more donors, then we can save more lives, and students have a very important role in registering more donors. I am biased because I lead SOTA and I believe in our mission, but there's actually people who have done research on students and organ donation. I'm thinking of one research study in particular by Dr. Arthur J. Rubens. He did a research study about students and their perceptions about organ donation, and he had a few findings at the end of his research study. One of the findings is that schools are ideal environments to provide organ donation education because students are at schools to learn. So they are really open to new ideas and new ways to help people. Another one of Dr. Rubin's findings was that there's a big correlation between knowing somebody who supports organ donation and being a registered organ donor yourself. So peer-to-peer, student-to-student, friend-to-friend education is especially powerful. And Sarah Miller, who is our president and founder, really recognized this at a young age because of her family's personal connection to organ donation. Here is Rachel, her sister, Susan, her mom, Laura, her sister, Ron, and then herself right here on the end. And when Sarah was 12 and Laura was 14, Laura passed away very suddenly from brain cancer. But because of the gift of organ donation, she was able to save the life of Trish, who is a special education teacher in upstate New York. And here's a picture of the Millers and Trish. And ever since Sarah had that personal connection to organ donation, she was an organ donation advocate, and she began advocating for organ donation in high school. At the time, she did a few presentations about the importance of organ donation, but when she started college at Washington University in St. Louis in 2014, she knew that she wanted to make a lasting legacy on campus. So she founded SOTA. And our mission is to inspire and support student-led organ and tissue donation, education, and registration efforts on high school and college campuses. Students who get involved with SOTA primarily do this by starting a SOTA chapter. And today we have 56 chapters across the country on high school and college campuses. And all of our students, they have two main goals. The first goal is to educate their peers about the importance of organ, eye, and tissue donation. And the second goal is to register their community as organ donors. And our national nonprofit provides them with resources to make sure they're successful at educating and registering others. So we provide them with event funding, mentorship from a full-time staff member on our team, supplies like t-shirts and more so that costs don't have to come out of their pocket, and written guides to ensure they're successful. And because of these resources, our students are saving lives. Here in this graph, this is the number of people our students are educating per school year by year since 2020. And this is the number of people they have registered per school year since 2020. And in total, since 2014, when we were founded, our students have educated over 40,000 people about organ, eye, and tissue donation and registered over 3,000 people as organ donors. And one of the students that is doing this important work is Ariana. Ariana founded a SOTA chapter when she was 14 at Miami Palmetto Senior High School. And in August of 2021, she participated in a podcast where she shared her personal connection to organ donation and more about the important work she's doing. So I want to share a quick clip of her and her connection to organ donation.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about you?
Of course, thank you for having me, first of all. So about a year ago is when my journey started. My dad, he's been living with PKD, polycystic kidney disease. It's a genetic kidney condition that lowers his kidney function. So he's been living with it for a while now, about 20 years. But it wasn't until about a year ago that it started going downhill for him, and he needs a transplant. So he was in the process of going on the waiting list. It was about summer. He was dealing with social workers, the hospital, and everyone in the process of that. It's such a huge thing, and I got exposed to that over the summer, especially since I was home. So I started learning about it, learning more about his disease and the possibility that I might have it. And it doesn't start showing symptoms till 35. So without a genetic test, I'll never know until then. And then running through different organizations that could help him, he was able to find our local OPO. And if anyone doesn't know what that is, it's an organ procurement organization. Anyone watching this, of course. And mine was at the University of Miami Life Alliance. So I started volunteering there just as a regular volunteer. And they introduced me to SOTA. So I've never heard anything like it, especially for students. And I thought it was so unique because it's just for younger people. So that's how I started my first SOTA chapter in South Florida, and the first high school chapter in the state with 3 other students at my school. I'm in Palmetto Senior High School, and ever since then, it's been great. I've been doing podcasts and other things like this.
We are so proud of our students like Ariana and very grateful for all of our supporters that make Ariana and our other students' advocacy possible. I will turn it over now to Autumn so she can say a few words about her daughter Riley and her plans for the Rose Parade, as well as intro and another special video that we have for you.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming and watching. And thank you, Nicole, for that amazing recap of SOTA. It's so nice to see all the people that have been registered due to the efforts of the SOTA chapters. So my name is Autumn Toelle-Jackson. And my daughter, Riley Marie Jackson, will be the honoree sponsored by SOTA at the 2023 Rose Parade on January 2nd. So our daughter, Riley, she was born in 2018, and she was amazing. We have 2 older sons, and they just adored her. Everything they wanted to do, they wanted to give her all her toys. So we were constantly pulling Legos and everything out of her hands because they just wanted to share everything they had with her. We were able to spend a lot of time doing some family trips, which turned out to be very memorable for us because unfortunately, when Riley was about 3.5 months old, she got sick, and we had assumed it was just a cold, and eventually she wasn't eating as well as she should be. So we did take her into the hospital. And again, at first glance, they also just thought it was a cold, but she had a little bit of head weakness, which is hard to tell in a 3-month-old. But they wanted to just watch her a little bit and get her rehydrated. And we were able to get her rehydrated, and they were thinking maybe some of that weakness was caused by meningitis. And so we went from, oh, it's just a cold, to maybe it's meningitis, to actually when they went to test her for meningitis before they could do any tests, she actually coded and her heart stopped. And they were able to get her heart going and get her stabilized after about 40 minutes. And we were transferred to a larger hospital. And after another few days, it was clear to us that she was not going to be waking up, that she was brain dead. And it was one of those situations where just something in both my husband and I brought us together, and we both pretty much mentioned that we wanted to look into organ donation for her at the same time. And we didn't even know it was possible. We didn't really think about organ donation a whole lot. We were both registered. We were registered when we got our driver's license at 16, and then we hadn't really ever thought about it. It hadn't impacted our lives. But we knew we wanted to look into it, and Riley just barely met the minimum size requirement for donation. And she did have a fairly rare blood type. So actually, when we first asked about organ donation, they prepared us and they said, we might not find recipients. And I understand why they do that. But at the same time, my thought was, in some other hospital, there's probably some parents that have been told, hey, we might not find a donor. And so despite all that, they were able to find a heart recipient, a liver recipient, and a kidney recipient. So on November 4th of 2018, Riley gave her miracles, and she had, while we were in the hospital, one of the nurses told us that Riley means courageous. And so we had started calling her a courageous miracle. And we knew at that moment she became a miracle for 3 other families. And through that process, we had realized that being able to provide those miracles, being able to help those other families really didn't take away our grief, but it softened parts of it, because as horrible and as tragic as it was to lose her, and as hard as it was for our family to lose her, there was something we knew somewhere. There were other families were celebrating, and Riley would have died whether we donated her organs or not. So the fact that other people can get something good from her and live on and carry a part of her with them was pretty amazing. And it definitely helped us in our grief. And so we're really happy to be able to share her story and also promote SOTA, because like I said, my husband and I both registered to be organ donors as 16-year-olds. And we didn't really know what that meant. We just checked the box. But there's a lot of other people who maybe see that box, or maybe it wasn't quite as easy as it was for us, and maybe they don't check it. And so really increasing that education and letting people share their stories, and also finding a connection for people that are touched by organ donation to talk to each other about it, I think is really beneficial. So I'm really happy that SOTA's been able to join me on this experience to go to the Rose Parade. Just to introduce the Rose Parade for people who don't know, it's been going on for a very long time in Pasadena. It's usually on January 1st, except they do not do the Rose Parade on a Sunday. And so this year, January 1st falls on a Sunday, so it's moved to January 2nd. And one of the neat things about the Rose Parade is all of the materials that are visible on the floats have to be organic materials. So there's different seeds, different fibers, different flowers covering all these floats. With the Donate Life float, they set it up to honor multiple aspects of organ donation. So fluorographs, they honor donors. The people that get a ride on the float are all organ recipients, and people that walk along the float are all living donors. So they really kind of embrace all the different aspects of it. And then throughout the week, they do different events. There's a New Year's Eve party. There's different brunches and lunches for people to mingle and share each other's stories. There's hopefully some media events. We get an opportunity to go decorate the float. We get an opportunity to attend the float judging. So there's a lot of different events that'll be coming up. One of the things they do is they allow families to travel to Southern California to create the fluorograph of their loved ones. And we were unable to do that. So instead, there was a volunteer who decorated Riley's fluorograph, and she almost completed it. She just left a little bit for us, which were actually her eyebrows. and they sent us a whole packet with the Florograph. And over the Thanksgiving break, my family was able to finish up that Florograph and put a little bit of our own touch onto it and then send it back down to the Donate Life Rose Parade team to put onto the float. So Nicole, if you wanted to share the video now, it probably makes more sense to people. So that's just a little preview of what the Florograph looks like. And again, her entire face, everything is made out of natural materials. It seemed to me a lot of the materials on there were different seeds that were shaded different colors. I have no idea what made her eyes blue, but I think it's a really neat pop of color in there. So I guess if anybody has any questions or anything they want to know about, I am going to be doing different social media pictures or videos while I'm down there at the Rose Parade. So if anybody has any ideas of things they'd like to see or they're curious about while I'm down there, if you want to let me know either at Growing with Grief or at Soda National, or comment on this video or send Nicole or I an email, I'll try to make sure to meet everybody's needs.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Autumn. That concludes our program tonight. So thank you for being here. We are so proud of Autumn and Riley and can't wait to cheer on Autumn and her family as they are in Pasadena to raise awareness for organ donation. Be sure to follow Autumn and Soda on Instagram to be a part of the celebration as celebrations happen. Have a good night and happy holidays.